I will call to order at 5:33. And first order of business is minutes. So can I get a motion? We should have.
Yep, sure.
Yep, and
Yes, I'll make
yep,
a
I
motion
can
to
get-
approve the attached minutes for the May 5th, 2021 meeting. And I'll second.
All right, perfect. Discussion? What do we have online?
Do we have any?
Any-
No panelists, just
No,
the
okay.
attendant. Yep.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, unanimously approved. Okay. Well, welcome, everybody. So this is very exciting. We're back in person, which is fantastic. So good to see everybody's face, everything else, and congratulations. And welcome to Wendy too for her very first in-person.
Oh, my goodness.
Ever with
That's
the
right.
building committee.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Let's
funny.
do the same thing at the next meeting too, just to remind
Yeah.
everybody that we feel like we've all spent so much time together.
I
last
know,
year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you do care.
It's crazy.
So we'll actually go into a lot of the details regarding next steps on the overall project and discussions, because I think everybody's kind of feeling at this point, okay, what now? Big step, it was fantastic, but what are kind of our next steps? So that will be part of the conversations at our 6:30 meeting, but we wanted to make sure we kept the continuity with the communications committee as well. So it's going to follow the same schedule as what we're thinking as the building committee meetings, which will go to monthly. So you'll start to see those changes with some differences. So I think you're going to see, we're going to take a break in August based on some of the work that we need to do to get ramped up, and then kind of really re-engage in September at those monthly meetings. But always we're thinking, and we probably should get feedback on this, is that do exactly this every month. The communication subcommittee meets just prior to the building committee meeting. Does that seem like it makes sense to everybody?
It's not going to be the morning, afternoon.
Right, yeah. Since we're only doing once a month.
And we're in, so you'll send out a new schedule like the lifters.
Yes, yeah, yep, and it'll get updated on the website, so that's always a point of reference. Both websites, actually, the town website will get updated, and then our website will also, the calendar will also be updated.
Will virtual be an option too?
Yes, yeah, so that's one thing we should mention is we have another member right here in the middle of the room, the owl, right? Is that what I call that?
Yes,
Yeah.
we have named him Hedwig after Harry Potter.
Okay.
Nice.
So we have a new friend, a pet for the committee.
Exactly, exactly, mascot, we'll have our own mascot.
Just watching. You can see the eyes right
Yeah,
there.
so it's hard to see from this angle, but it has like two little yellow
It's
eyes
very
that
dynamic.
almost makes it look like an owl, so that's why it's there. So yeah, we will have the option of Zoom attendance, which is great. Correct, yeah, yeah. So that will go out with all the invites, which is nice. We did receive a lot of feedback from people that they really liked the flexibility of being able to join in person or being able to kind of, follow along as well from home. So I'm hoping we're going to be able to do that for everybody. It's kind of a little bit of a test run right now. So we're going to figure all that out as we go.
A little
So what we thought we'd do today is, with this small subcommittee, is really talk about the communications planning moving forward. So I don't think we necessarily need to know every single detail about the project in order to have this conversation. So the other document that you have, in addition to your agenda, is this sustained communication plan. And as you can see, it's July 2021 to August 2024. So we're looking at the overall communications plan for all the next stages of the project, and what do we do? We're going to make sure we keep community members engaged. They have the information they need. We kind of celebrate successes as we go along, all the things that we've been doing to date to make sure people stay informed, because I really think this is something, obviously, we saw from the vote. The community is very engaged. They want this to succeed. We want to make sure they get all the information they need and be able to communicate with us. So we wanted to first have this conversation with the subcommittee to talk about, let's just talk about the components of the plan and what we're thinking about, and see if there's anything else we need to add, any other considerations. And we are obviously going to be leaning heavily on CSG and TSKP as we move forward with their experiences having actually gone beyond referendum. So this is something, Mark, that you're going to be obviously a big part of the conversations and discussions of what do we need to be doing, where we need to be focusing on.
Great.
So, Kat, do you want to go through
Yeah,
the?
no problem. So I asked Ira to put together a proposal of what, based on his experience, he would suggest for communication. And like Meg said, this is really something that we need to focus on moving forward. There was a lot of support for the vote. People are going to know what the progress is, you know, how's the timeline going, all of these things. So there's a couple components to Ira's plan that we'll go through. Obviously, we're using things like the Farmington Public Schools newsletter, the town newsletter, which go out frequently throughout the year to keep little touch points going on. But this would also include a building committee newsletter every 6 months. So we're looking at 2 times a year for the next 4 years, just with updates, project status, maybe some photos, you know, when there is the groundbreaking, obviously building up to that, photo, you know, just keeping people informed. He also was thinking Zoom community meetings, in-person and Zoom community meetings throughout the course of the project. He said a couple times a year, I believe it says 3 times per year in here. Just an opportunity outside of the building committee normal meetings to have the community come, ask questions, see the plan, see the progress. When the building opens, have a tour, you know, kind of see everything as it's moving forward and keep up that engagement that we've built while we were on Zoom leading up to the referendum. His plan also includes website updates with us, social media messaging, making sure everything's consistent. Obviously working with the communications subcommittee like he did last time to make sure our messaging, our points and everything is consistent. He also wants to create a yearly video highlighting the past year's progress. That would be kind of like, if you remember, Meg would have an update video on the front page of our website. So it would be something like that. It would have, again, like photos from the groundbreaking or, you know, a short video of some construction happening, something like that to keep people up to date with the progress. And then any media articles, prep like that, like for, you know, you want to make a big deal about the groundbreaking, you want to make a big deal about the first day of school in the new building. So things like that kind of discuss. Yeah, exactly, milestones. So I think this is a comprehensive plan. It also builds around the momentum that we had with elementary parents, PTO organizations, keeping everybody on the same page as we move forward. So it does the budget breakdown here with the printing, all of the stuff for the newsletter that's included, and it looks like it's just under $25,000 for over the next 4 years. So not all at once.
This is through Tarleton Nurse Marketing.
Yes, yeah. And I asked Ira to put that together because, you know, I think he and his company and his team did a great job with the messaging and the newsletters that we sent out prior to referendum. And it is, you know, just speaking from our experience and our workload, it is helpful to have it outsourced, the newsletters and all of the marketing like that, because it is a burden sometimes to try to make sure we're doing the graphic designs and we're getting everything and having that partner and a professional in that field is very helpful.
I think in this situation too, with, you know, being such a long journey to get you all here and to where, you know, it's going to feel fast tracked moving forward. I think considering, you know, pre-referendum to post-referendum and, you know, Ira's team is going to, I think, really work well with this committee and not just, you know, the communication committee, the building committee to get messaging out in a different way than you might typically see on some other projects. So you might typically just see something out from Board of Ed in a newsletter to say, hey, the high school's going great, you know, drive by, whatever it might be, or here's some exciting things that are happening. But I think considering, you know, all the efforts and the time and the concerns along the way and the promise for transparency, that I think that this is just another important step that this building committee is taking to move communications forward right through to the day that kids move in, and I think that's great.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mark, about the individual newsletters that we have. I mean, we know from previous surveys, that's where people get their information, and the residents in the community, I think we owe it to them to keep them informed in a specialized
Yeah.
you know, newsletter that you can't miss, you know, because sometimes it could be buried in a,
Oh, it would just be a.
It'll be a
There's
blur.
so many
so,
other things that we cover in the district newsletter and the town newsletter.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a big investment, it's a big project, and we want to keep people informed and up to speed on what's going on.
And I think what Ira's done this with other school districts, right, that were
Yes.
successful, and I know that you said that,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and I was really impressed with just advice and yes, it's like just the way he set up the logistics, so I 100% agree that this would be a good investment, a good choice to stay with them. Good to have to do it.
And his intimacy, like he knows this
Oh, yeah.
project
Yeah.
inside and out. He's written
Yeah.
about it. He's done videos about it. He knows everything there is to know, as much as we all do sitting around this table. So for us to be able to kind of keep that continuity, I
Oh,
think is a big benefit. And he is very engaged. Like
Oh, yeah.
he's, you know, he was a big part of the success of this and was right with us there to the finish line. And then, so he wants to see, I think, get to the end as well. So, which is nice.
So will this be a recommendation from the subcommittee to the building committee tonight? Or is this?
We can add it to the agenda.
Yeah, I think we can do that to say, unless
We'll do it in the communications update.
say
Yeah.
that here's something that, you know, just to kind of, and is there anything else you guys can think of or any other?
I don't know if it matters here for record keeping, but under 2B, I heard you say community meeting, but it says building committee in person and or Zoom. But I think what you're talking about here, like he's talking about here is really community meetings about the building project.
Yes, it's additional meetings outside of our monthly building committee meetings.
Okay.
Yeah, I
So
think
it reads prep for building committee, kind of like.
I think it's his time to help prep for,
The building committee would be hosting that.
I think that's what
Okay, I'm sorry.
that's one of his tasks, yeah.
The community meetings are under 1A, never mind.
No, I read
I
it the same
jumped
way you
around.
did until I read through it again, yeah.
It says 3 times a year under 2 meetings.
We can get some clarity on that too. But I mean, I think a big focus for the committee in this phase of the project is communication. So he said he will also provide, you know, once approved and moving forward, kind of a bigger milestone calendar where it says, you know, this is maybe the point where you should host that community meeting, or
Right.
this is when the newsletter should go out. And, you know, I think that would be helpful for us to see big picture
Yes.
when those touch points are.
So you know exactly, yeah.
Would be nice to
Press
see
release
something when school starts.
Yeah, exactly.
So everybody's paying attention to the newsletters and everything.
I mean, we probably don't know this yet, but I mean, I guess we still are in some sort of monitoring of locations and opening, right, to public and things like that we have to think about as well. So I mean, I don't know how long that'll last. So just
Yeah.
something to keep in mind for us that it's, you know, hosting a meeting here for the public.
Oh, yeah.
We just
Yeah.
don't know. So just to
Yeah.
keep it in mind, I would hope that could be the case. But
Yeah, that's a good point.
yeah, just being a school and,
The schools are usually more
right.
locked down.
And I think, I mean, we did a big focus on holding every event possible inside the building.
Yeah.
Now that the referendum was successful, I don't know if that needs to be an emphasis anymore. You know, so if we need the community center or the Yates room at the police
Yeah.
department, I
Just some
think
flexibility.
we have some
Yeah.
flexibility with that.
Sure.
Or if something happens and we need to go on Zoom, I mean, we're all experts at that now, so.
I
And
know,
that's where we think sometimes the community is more likely to attend. right?
Yeah.
They really
I
are.
thought it was interesting, just, I don't know if y'all saw the 5-gallon pail in the hallway as you walked in, just before you, in the corner, I'm assuming in preparation for the storm. Maybe, I don't know. I'm thinking that's just a
Yeah.
perfect example. of
Yeah,
everything that
exactly.
We've been
exactly.
talking about for so long.
Why we did what we did.
So the only other thing I would ask or consider, and I think, you know, is, and we talked about this, when we bring a construction management firm on board, that there's neighborhood meetings to talk about bringing the neighborhood in for involvement around, you know, how the process is gonna go, what's gonna happen in their backyard, and even participating in, you know, some of the design process early on with DSKP. I don't know that we need IRA for that, but I don't know if, you know, we want to think about at least maybe one prep meeting with IRA or something, I don't know.
I think that's a good idea. The Highlands, I think, is still a little bit of a.
Yeah,
controversial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's gonna be specialized communication. We know
Right.
that it is going to be a separate plan, a separate initiative, points of contact, all those things that we know
Yeah.
construction manager is gonna help us manage, which is fantastic.
Talk about the logistics. And,
Yeah,
And
and
we'll
so
have
that,
like a quiet year, right? And then when construction really starts, things will.
Yeah,
Right.
things are gonna ramp
Yeah.
up, yeah. so-
yeah, so as
Yeah.
prepared as we can be.
Expected.
Yeah, it might be good for us to do kind of a prep meeting on that, just to kind of get a handle on. I don't know if we do it, do we wait till the CM gets on board?
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
onboard the CM, we'll get through that process and then,
Okay.
we'll start talking with, TSKP, start having those internal meetings. I mean, it's gonna, we sort of talked about this, it's gonna feel a little bit like, things are gonna be on autopilot for a little while, because there's not gonna be a whole lot for the building community to do while we're going through this, design process. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, well, I'm
Yeah.
sure, yeah, we'll be busy, but
Yeah.
you all, you've all made a lot of the big decisions on the conceptual design to date, so as we start to bring things together and have our building committee meetings, TSKP will say, this is what we've here's what might change, or we might need to do this, or whatever it might be, but, or the CM might make discussions around logistics and say, we can probably do this a little bit faster or a little bit better, or it might make more sense to start here, kind of things that we bring in, but those won't be big building committee decisions that you all have been twice a month for 2 years kind of putting together. So, so a lot of the hard work, the ed specs, all of that's already done, the applications in, so.
And that's something we forget, is that our ordinance requires us to go to schematic before referendum, where most
Yeah.
communities only go to conceptual.
Right.
So we're farther along in the design process than
Right.
most building projects are. So that's why it's gonna kind of feel like
Yeah.
a downtime, yeah, because we're already ahead of schedule.
And the new build alone, right, takes some of the ambiguity
It-
around, out of the process,
It
just in the
does,
fact
yeah.
that it's a brand new building. Takes some of the,
Coordination and the,
right,
the phasing of things
right.
that you would normally see in a renovate is new or something. Like that, or renovation project, where you kind of shuffle kids around,
Yeah.
So that
there's more change, a lot of change to things, a lot more discoveries as you're through, hey, we found this, what are we gonna do about that? I mean, you're still gonna have those things, but not to the extent that you would if you were working in an occupied, big older existing building with addition after addition that you've had.
Yeah.
Where mechanicals make connections and things like that becomes a big challenge.
all the different materials of the era.
Yeah,
Where it's still-
I know, it's like when I went to Spain and you could see like the Moorish influence and the right, I feel like you're almost there with this high school, you've got
Yeah, a
this
little bit of
architect's
everything, that's
influence
right,
and this
yeah.
architect's influence, yeah. So,
Yeah, I could
not quite 300 years, but.
Right.
I mean, I think, I'm just thinking through like the process, with the sensitivity we have around this current building and the drop off, pickup, parking, I think that's probably gonna be our first biggest challenge.
Yes.
It's gonna be
Agreed.
making sure everyone understands, because it's community building as well, so it's not just, if people are coming for team ed or if you're coming here for a program of some kind,
Where all the material laydown areas are gonna be, where the
Right.
fence is gonna be.
making
where
sure
the
people
iron-
understand when you get here, what do you do?
Right.
Yeah, right.
I mean, we're not making those decisions, but I think, we can help with some of that
Absolutely, yeah.
communication out to
Right.
everybody, to try to
What
make
expect,
this
Yeah.
as easy as possible for people, although, it's not gonna be easy, I'm sure, but.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I'm confident.
me too.
So that's our plan.
Yeah,
Moving
that's what we're thinking. So obviously, like I said, every month, we would then start, hopefully that milestone calendar, I think is gonna be big for us. But, maybe by our September meeting, we can have a better understanding of what that looks like, so that we really start thinking about what's happening when, sequencing of things, what do we need to do to prepare? It'll be interesting over the next year, like what our communication does look like, because it is really design. So, I think it's more kind of updates.
People will be asking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Things are said.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure there are people who think it was gonna start right away, construction.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
We were educating right up until the day of the vote.
Right.
Yeah.
It was gonna-
Yeah, I got the
Knowledge,
question,
yeah.
well, what do you need another year for?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things to figure out.
And even though we were at schematics, that's
Yeah.
not final.
It's
No,
still
you've
not.
got- Yeah, you've got to get to
Detail.
40%, then 90%, then 100% drawings, and, those, we're at a stack that looks like this right now, and you're gonna have a stack that looks like
Right.
this when we're done, so all of, you think about all the details that need to go into, just look around this room, all the details of the shelving, you name it, and all of that thing has to be picked and specified.
Right.
And identified and checked, for availability, all that stuff,
People want, that to be a good process with a good end product,
Yes.
right? Where you're thinking of all those details that I
Yeah.
would just reassure people.
Yeah.
Decisions to be made.
and then we
Important
need to
that
go
they
out to
have the
bid.
time.
And I think we did learn that there is certainly maybe a subsection, but definitely of our community that really does want to know the details. So I think we stay true to that and say, we will have that available.
Yeah.
If you need to know more, or if, not everybody's going to want to. They're going to want to know, when does my kid start school in the building? And that's good too, but we definitely learned, there's certainly people that want to know the
Right.
details. So we say, I think as much information as we can provide, the better for people. And not so much, I think, for this group, but also, I'll say it again, at the 6:30 meeting, but if somebody should watch this later, the website obviously is still active. That is still a contact form that people can use for us to contact us for any reason. So we will still keep pushing that. If you get questions on the community around things, I think that's the best source of contact for us still, is submit there. And, we might not know the answers right away on a lot of things. I mean, I've already been asked questions specifically about the site, or that we don't know the answers to. And that's okay too, but at least we have a way to kind of collect those and funnel them to the correct.
Gives you a good gauge of what people are concerned about.
Yes.
About.
Yeah.
We have a place where, you're right, people are probably asking us really questions, but if we can say, hey, go onto this
Yes.
website, the information is available. I
Right.
think it's us in a good position where it's like, the information is there. I might not know every single little detail, but there is a source out there that the public
Right.
has access to.
Yeah. And is that normally how it works, Mark? Like whatever we do have of these design documents, we just publish out? Or, I mean, it's because they're huge probably, right? Is there
They
like a
are,
summary
yeah,
of something?
so it's a good question. We could talk to TSKP about how we want to best kind of handle updates, because they are going to be huge. I think we could maybe hit on some of the highlights and the big change highlights, as opposed to every detailed drawing. No one's gonna want to see the steel and the
Right.
masonry.
You never know, you never
detail.
know.
Yeah, you never know, but
Architects will be presenting to the building committee, so those presentations we can make
Yes.
accessible,
Versions
and that
of
is
Yes.
kind of like the high level
yeah, we
summary.
could put those kind of, those PowerPoint things up on the, absolutely.
Yeah. And will we have a model? I don't know if I should ask you that
Oh,
question.
That's a good question. I don't know that we asked for one, but I know they put together one for the presentation,
Yeah,
like very boxy,
yes,
high level, but you might have more 3D imaging in, through technology, where they
Yep.
can kind of spin the building and you can kind of see things and see inside, as opposed to a physical model.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
That's a great question.
all right. We'll have to have those
If
conversations.
we
I'm
have
not
those
sure.
in-person meetings.
Right, I
For the
don't, I think it's
Yeah.
just something we
Yeah.
should consider as kind of another communication tool, maybe. It's something to throw
Yeah.
out there. I don't know, we can
Did
talk
you
about it.
guys, I don't know what software program, I teach architecture at the school district.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
But I know a lot of those software programs have to turn them into STL files.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, maybe you could take a STL file, print it on a 3D printer, maybe in a 1/8 scale.
We have-
Again,
we
that's a TSKP question. I don't know what software they use, but
well, we have a
certainly
3D
you can
printer
ask
in-house.
I
ask
know you
Tyson
guys,
tonight.
I know we
Yeah.
do, because they,
Yeah.
Farmington does the Perkins grant. and
Yeah.
I saw them lined up at IAR. so-
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
cool.
there's a 3D
Yeah.
printer down this
But
way.
that's the latest thing now, is these
Yeah.
software programs are allowing you to take
3D
your
print.
plans and turn them into STL files. And
Good
if I have
question
to do it at work,
for
I'll-
Tyson tonight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just put him on the
Yeah.
spot.
I know.
Well, maybe that can be some sort of
Collaboration.
Collaboration,
Yeah,
that's
something
kinda
even
cool.
with students or
Yeah.
something.
The high school kids here, absolutely, if you
Yeah.
have an architecture or a
That's
capstone
something to look
project.
into.
Yeah.
Mhm. And I could help absolutely if there's a student or the teacher in Farmington, I absolutely do a collaborative.
Yeah, I think we, all that stuff, why not? Let's think about, some of it might be prohibitive, I don't know, we
Yeah.
gotta get more details, but
Right.
Sure.
anything we can do to get people I think it's hard when we've been conceptual and we're going to continue to be conceptual for such a long time,
Right,
that
right.
anything we can do to make it a little bit more real,
Yeah.
might make it a little bit more like satisfying almost for the community to say,
Yeah.
this is what we're hoping, this is
Yeah,
what we're
and more
gonna say.
than just like a
Right.
plan on a piece of paper,
Right.
like
Sure.
a video or a
Yeah.
interactive thing almost.
Yeah.
So I actually did have a quick question, being kind of a forward thinker. So as we're moving on, is there someone who's going to be like documenting and taking pictures of like the progress?
So the construction manager, that's gonna be part of they're gonna owe us, monthly reporting and progress photos, right? So part of that report will include all the updated progress photos and things that are happening. And we can certainly talk about, some projects have time-lapse video where they set it up in the beginning and you can watch the whole thing, it records through the whole thing of construction. And there are a lot of things you could do to kind of record.
Drone footage.
We have a drone here too.
There you go.
It's cool.
Yeah, that's-
Yeah,
the
the drone, yeah.
So,
And high school kids should be excited.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly. They send the drone
Especially the
over for a
freshmen.
little bit.
It might be done for them.
True.
Yeah.
but the answer is that would be part of the construction
And we
managers.
would have access to, I assume we would have access to all that photos and stuff so that we could use this. like,
We'd want to probably select, they may give you a ton more photos than you ever cared to look at, the connection at the foundation wall or some things, or some of those progress photos might be, we ran into something in the ground and here's 45 pictures of, this rock we found, right? Or whatever it might be, those kinds of things. But in terms of, we can certainly go through and identify select progress photos that we would, that really, tell the story.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good. That's all I want.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea, making sure we have somebody accountable, that we're
Right.
not gonna miss, 6 months of progress
Sure.
somewhere.
Right.
And that would be good content information to use with IRA.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the newsletter, website,
Website, Facebook.
yeah, social
Yeah.
media, all those things that people who really want to stay engaged have an opportunity to do so. All right, anything else? Any other thoughts on that?
Just thinking about social media, you just brought that up.
Yep.
Maybe to have a sense of how often do we want to post or what do we want to post. I think some of this will become more evident as we see what we're getting for updates, how often.
Yeah.
Just have a sense of schedule or
Yeah, we can
plan.
yeah, like how do we schedule it out? Obviously, we'll continue to do the chair reports, will continue to go out, which gives people at least a little snapshot of
Sure.
our conversations.
We could also do, we have our chair report is a group on MailChimp, it's about 300 plus people. We could do like a monthly or a bi-monthly update, just like an email blast out with photos and stuff like that. So I think more than just this, we can do some stuff internally using our resources like that and social media. So
Yeah.
we can plan that a little bit more comprehensively.
Okay, so does it make sense, we think, to just kind of share this as say that we've reviewed it as a subcommittee with the full committee at the next meeting and say we're gonna move forward with this? We're obviously gonna have to come back when we approve the invoice. There's an initial invoice payment that will come back to the committee, but I think it's good for them to know we use a plan and kind of get some highlights about what's going to be included.
What's coming.
All right, the only other things we have on the agenda is to cancel some meetings, believe it or not. So you're going to see us cancel that July 14th communication subcommittee meeting as well as the building committee meeting. We need to do some work coming out of this meeting in preparation for the construction manager RFQ and
Contract.
Oh, and finish up the contract or continue the contract, amend the contract for CSG. So we need some time in order to put all those pieces in place with the professional partner subcommittee. So that's all going to take place. So we just need a little bit more time. So we're going to end up meeting at the end of July, as you'll see on the schedule. And then again, it's going to take us time. If we remember, Wendy, unfortunately, you didn't get an opportunity to sit with us when we did the very beginning of the project, when we were bringing on CSG, TSKP. It's a lengthy process to put the RFQ out, have it posted, get responses, rate them, interview them, do all this process. So we're going to give ourselves some time in order to get some of those pieces in place through the month of August, and then start reviewing, I believe, in September. Correct.
Yep.
Is how you'll see that plan.
Right, so as we come in to our August, I think we agreed at the end of August, we would be reviewing and selecting our CM. So there's a lot of work that's going to go into play to prepare, to send all those documents out, put them out on the street, have people respond, have them put their request for put all their qualifications together. We then review the qualifications. We sort of debrief, identify who we want to bring in for interviews, then building committee interviews, and then make a selection, open up their proposals, look at fees, and then there's a whole scoring process, and identify who our next professional partner is going to be.
What's RCM's?
Construction manager. So,
Okay.
Yes.
so the construction manager signs a contract, sort of a guaranteed maximum price contract, and they are the ones that will hold the contracts with the vendors that will actually perform the work. So they are the constructed. It's called a CM at risk. So they're the ones that are taking on the risk of the building. We sort of act as an intermediary between the town of Farmington and the CM, and we play a role in going through the bid process. So they go out and they'll pick 3 vendors for concrete. They'll give us the numbers, what everybody included. We'll discuss, and then a selection will be made who your concrete company is going to be, and then the same thing with the steel and the So all of that process happens after the final design is done. So that's where you need that time before you can put that first shovel in the ground. Bringing the construction manager on early makes sense. Now that we're past referendum, they can start to go look through the drawings and talk about logistics and things. We talked about bringing a CM on board before referendum, and it just didn't make sense to spend those dollars. If it was a renovate is new and we were talking about a lot more in phasing and logistics, we would have considered probably bringing a CM on earlier. But because when you're going, remember we've gotten third-party cost estimates. We've put together what this building's going to cost. We have our charge and we have our applications in. We can't. There's no more money to spend beyond that point. And so now we've got to. We'll be doing more cost estimates as we get through. If TSKP's design goes over that, we have to figure out how to reel that back. Maybe the cost of steel has gone up 300%, and we have to figure whatever it might be, or maybe not, right? So I know we've seen a lot of price increases, but I think we're also going to see some of that start to trend down again. Some will level out. I think some are just it's been a long time coming, and then others I think were part of COVID, and so a little more beyond our communications committee. Sorry.
That's all right. No, I think that's what.
That again tonight.
Yeah, I think we might end up doing the same thing, which is fine. I think for all of us, I think that's where we've sat in this kind of pocket of knowing for so long, and now we're out of it. So I think you'll see this group and then in our whole committee starting to feel like, okay, let's, get all that knowledge under our belts, which is great.
Another learning curve.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
For me, it's good because I haven't really been part of that beginning process. So if I ask questions, I feel bad, but.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, don't ever feel bad about it.
You haven't been on this other side for the building project.
Yeah, it's much
When
better
the
than.
referendum passed, Meg and I were like, oh, we just need a minute to think.
This is me.
And
Yeah.
then we'll figure it out.
Yes.
So that's our next step, is we're gonna be working at a building committee, comes and have her to get the construction, like to interview.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Tonight, we're gonna release the architect to start moving on the design,
Okay,
because he's got a lot to do now. And we'll start to work on the documents that go out to the public in response to, we're gonna essentially put an ad out there saying we need a construction manager. And here's the list of things that we're gonna ask you for. And so interested bidders contact us by this date, and then we'll put that list together. And then we'll ask them to submit qualifications. There's probably only a handful in the state of Connecticut that can handle this size job in the schedule. And the dollar value that's gonna have to, kind of the amount of work that's gonna have to get spent every month and keep up with that kind of volume, so.
And then every building committee member gets a copy of those proposals. We create a scoring rubric, and then you'll read through them and grade them. Then we all meet, discuss it, shortlist.
Yep.
And then we have them stand up here, give a presentation to us, all of that, so.
And then, yeah, we'll
You learn a lot.
interview
through
the
those.
shortlist,
You
yeah.
really, that's when you really start to, because I remember getting my first scoring sheets and being like, I don't know if but the more you read, the information they give you is very helpful. It all kind of comes together. And then now we have obviously, CSG and TSKP as well, right next to us, which is a huge assistance to be able to help us with questions and all that. We were starting blind.
Yeah,
You
right,
guys came
I
out and
know.
we were like, okay.
just like your,
Yeah.
just like us.
So, all right, so what I'm gonna do is combine these next three items in for a motion to cancel the July 14th, the August 11th, and August 25th, the Communications Subcommittee meeting.
second.
All right, any discussion on that? All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, excellent. So we'll go ahead and start that update on the calendar and make sure that gets back out to everybody. So basically, from our perspective of what's out there now, we're not adding anything. So worst case scenario, take a look at what's out there, but we're going to be looking at, as I said, that monthly schedule for the building committee and for the communications subcommittee. And then you'll hear us, as we just talked about, it'll be supplemented by professional partners subcommittee. Will then re-engage and do the work that they need to do. And then, it'll basically kind of, we're starting from a very similar point as we did last time. Yeah. And you will see a chart that will look very similar to our last chart of those two sections with a little yellow box that moves for high level tasks. But this time around, we'll have much more detailed true project plan, which will be nice for us to be able to follow along with as well, with big milestones and tasks and all those things too. So I can't wait.
I
I
know.
love project plans. All right, anything else anybody has, or? All right, excellent. So why don't we go ahead and adjourn at 6:11?